All right, morning, everybody. Again, all right. We want to attempt this question first of all. So we want to talk it through. Okay. I want you all here with me. So we have the question that we have a C program, and we're asking the user to enter a string into a character array. Just take a string like normal. Okay. What we use to capture the string again? Huh? Right, gets or F gets. You could use either. Okay. And the string is up to 250 characters long. So it could be a long string, it could be a sentence. And we want the program to print out how often each character appears in the string occurs. So what's the approach here? Let's say, for instance, I guess everybody, in terms of thinking through this, should start by putting down a string, and you should start by putting down a string, and you're going to think about, if I were counting that characters in that string, unique distinct characters, how would I record that? Okay, so we don't have to use the example, the rain and spin example. You can get any string of text. Real, give me a sentence. The sky is The sky is blue. All right? Something non-controversial. I like it. Okay? The sky is blue. And we want to keep a record manually of how many characters we have, how many instances, we have of each character. Set. Where's set? Right. Set, where do we start? If I say keep a tally of all the characters here, what do you do? Okay. Give me instructions as to how to do it. So, okay, all right, let's break it down. You're telling me how much it is, but you're not telling me how you calculating it. Because we want to focus on the how, not the output. So how are you determining that we had one T, we had one H? Right, so good. So we take this one character, we put it somewhere, and we go through every other character, and we say it doesn't match, doesn't match, doesn't match, does not match, doesn't match, doesn't match, does not match, doesn't match, doesn't match. And so at the end of it, this one character, as long as we have this one character, we know that it appears one time here. Next thing, when we move on to the next character, how are we determining the next character? All right, so we come up with a rule. I like that. We have a rule that goes along with the process that we have determined. So we say the process is, starting from the first character, you compare every character after that. And when you go on to the second character, you don't look back. Why not? Exactly. A backwards comparison or a forwards comparison is the same comparison. We don't want to waste time. So if it is that we're thinking this in terms of things to do, we say start with the first character. Then what did we do? We did something because we on this character and this character was never seen before. We count that character once. Yeah? So set a tally of 1 to the first character. Then what did we do? We say until we hit the end of the string, compare the character to compare the character to compare the character that you are currently on with each character to the end. Okay? Could I say that better? But we understand what we mean. For each character following the current character, we compare that character with the character that we're currently on. I think at this point we have to make a decision inside of this loop that we make here. Because this is a loop, not so? We're basically saying go from this character to the end. So in our mind, we can think of a loop. But inside that loop, we have to make a decision. What decision needs to be made here? Is it Andre? Yes. If what? Right. So you can flip that for me? No. I mean, like, instead of saying if it's not equal, tell me what to do if it's equal. All right, I'll take that. So remember, in this case, we're saying if there is a match, if there's a match between the character that we're currently on and the character that we started off with, then you want to increase the tally, not so? So if there is a match between the characters, then increase the tally by 1. This is one of those ifs that if it matches, you do something, but if it doesn't match, you don't do anything. Because in the case of it matching with not matching, you still have to go forward. Okay? So if we're thinking about it from the first instance, and let me put another word here. So the sky is blue here. Okay? So that's the string that we're looking at now. The sky is blue here. And after the first letter, what do we want to do? We want to move on to the second letter and only look forward. We established that. So the thing is, though, I need to know for a particular letter whether a tally was already started for it. Yeah? So when I do T is the first letter. We know that we have to start with the first letter in the tally list. Then we have the second letter, H. H, let's say H, we go in. We know that this is the first H we do. Why? Because we look through the list, the tally list. And when we have to move from one letter to another letter, now we kind of come up with another rule. When you move from one letter to another letter, you need to look through the tally list to see if this letter already exists or if it should be added as a new distinct letter, a new unique letter. Agreed? So okay. So we say once we reach the end, once we reach the end of checking, against a letter, we move on to the next and always search forward. Right? This is just our narrative to guide the ideas that we will have towards building our algorithm. Eh? Okay? Comma. We can check this letter against previous letters checked to see if a count was already done. If a count was done, then skip this letter. If not, add it and do a count. All right, and I think that this is kind of like the solution here. So let's see what we said here. We have H. H was not done because H wasn't in this list. So H, we have one H to start off with. And then we have to check against all moving forward. So E doesn't match, this doesn't match, no match, no match, no match, no match. No, 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 yes. So we add 1 to the tally. No, no, no. And then we have E. E is, how much E's we have. I don't want to go through all to show. Right? Let's just go through until we meet a letter that we'll get repeated. Alright? So we have E as a character. How many E's we have? 1. Start off with 1, 2, 3, 4 E's, right? 4 E's. Then we have another character, space. We're representing space as space, right? How many spaces we have? 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces as well. Then we have S. Okay, we have S. How many S's? 2 S's. K, 1 K, Y, 1 Y. We meet space again. So now we are back currently on this character, space. It means that we have to look through this and see if space already exists. Does space already exist? Yes. So should I count spaces again? No, because I'll get an incorrect count, especially if I'm only moving forward. Right? Same thing, well, I, first I we need. S, same thing for S. We don't need to count S. But doing this tells me something. Doing this tells me that I need to keep a record of these characters here. What structure could I use to keep a record of these characters here? An array. A character array. You all with me? Right? So I could name this here. I could name this line. This would have been line. That's the name of this array. This array could have been named D underscore letters for distinct letters, or D underscore chars for distinct characters, or something so. Right? Or maybe U underscore chars. And I have this tally array here, which is an integer array. Yes? Could you tell me something about tally and unique characters? I'm looking for something that you might notice about tally and unique characters. They are correlated, which means that they will work together by, they have something that they share. Huh? Equal in what sense? I'm not making out. No, not yet, not values. They have the same length, they should have the same length, and they should have the same, that I would. No? No, not increment. What are the parts of an array? An index. Is you said it? Who said it? You. Right? I don't know. I'm not seeing anybody's mouth moving. Everybody, it's just a. You can imagine how confusing like a ninja conference would be. Right? Because like somebody make a snide remark and everybody ready to fight, but you don't know who to fight with. Okay? Sorry if I point at the wrong person, but good job, right? They share the same index. Because for me to know the tally of T's, I have to be able to map that onto the letter T. Okay, so that's another thing that we have to think about here. So in terms of coming up with our solution, we have a blueprint. And this is where I expect you all to start. This is where your SBA expects you all to start as well. You write out a narrative about the problem that you're going to solve so that you could then move towards creating another blueprint, being your pseudocode or your flowchart, and that will guide the development of your program. I know not everybody wants to jump to programming. But if it is that you are having difficulty expressing it in the programming language, the next best thing to do is to take a step back, and your natural language is the way that you think. So it's just a matter of documenting, hey, what do I plan to do? And I'm telling you that it's okay to make mistakes here, because this will be generally correct. And then when you have something like this that's generally correct, you can start to code it little by little. You notice that I have dashes next to everything that I have. Why? Because these are points. I'm not going to try and do the whole thing one time. I could start by writing a piece of code that allows me to enter a string and only prints out the first character. And if I could write a program that could do that, I could then take that first character and store it in an array. And then I could take an array, a number array, and put the value of 1 and say, hey, print out position 0 of that array, and I should see the first character and 1 printed out. Agreed? And boom, I've done something. It mightn't seem like much, but I could compile that program 100 times, and it will work 100 times up to that point. And then I say, okay, let me move on to the third point, because I reach up to the tally. And I could start focusing entirely on hitting just looping to the end of the string. I don't have to do up the tallies for everyone. But I could just make sure that I could say, okay, let me take every character from that first string and put it in that second string. And put a tally of 1 to each. And if I have an error anywhere in doing that, I could just delete the whole thing, the new thing that I've created, and I'll know that the first and second points were correct up to the point that they were correct. So I could refocus now on doing that third point, learning from the problems that I would have gotten in incorrectly printing out probably the tallies. People, what I'm saying is baby steps. Baby steps. Yes, I know sometimes when even I write it and I showing all this something, it just look like I just putting stuff down. And it kind of looks easy, but remember I doing it a lot. And so now I pulling back now and saying, hey, I want you guys to do it in steps. We can attempt this 15, 20 minutes. All right. We can attempt this. It's not too difficult, but we could take it in steps. And I'll pass around and I'll check on everybody. But I honestly think that this exercise, in terms of array manipulation, is not too difficult for us to do. And, once you could get the hang of this, I think we can move on to the next step that we want to move on to. But I have to know that you are comfortable with arrays. This will help us get there. Right? No, this is the, okay. So I'll come and talk to you. Huh? All right. So I'm gonna pause the recording.